Welcome back. I'm Rob Lang and this is my game Clomper. You live inside a mechanical ladybird called a Clomper, which you control by making pipes to power machines with steam. The outside world is a hellscape, which you explore from inside the Clomper, gathering resources and completing quests. That sounds like fun. Go wishlist on Steam.
The playtesters told me that the lighting was bad. More specifically, there was too much contrast and these weird light spots, and there were areas that were just too dark or too bright. It was just not very good. Most of all to me, it felt like it wasn't a small room, which the Clomper is supposed to be. In this devlog, I'm going to look at why it was bad, what I did to remove all the lights, and then how I put them back. We're also going to look at the new features I've put in, both of which probably should have been there a long time ago, but they just haven't been. And what's going on with beta testing, so let's get into it. The playtesters didn't like the lighting, and you know what? Neither did I. I didn't think the lighting was quite what I wanted it to be. The main reason is that the Clomper is like a small library. It's supposed to be a Victorian library with high walls and nice deep warm colours, but it feels a bit stark. It was too dark. There were these weird bright spots around, and it was too contrasty, which means in some places it's very bright and some places it's very black. I have messed around with the lighting in the Clomper for a very long time, but it's still not right. So I took this opportunity to sort it out properly. In Unity, there are two types of lighting: baked lighting and real-time lighting. I'm sure it gets more complicated than this, but this is as far as I understand, okay? Real-time lighting is done when you're running the actual game. Baked lighting is where you do all your calculations when you build the game. Baked lighting allows you to do really cool, complicated calculations and not affect your FPS. Real-time lighting will affect your FPS for every light you add into the scene. Let's look at all the lights that we had in the Clomper. There are 6 of these light fittings, 1 on each leg. There's another light fitting on the Conn and 1 by the grinder. There's another light lighting up the pit where the grabber is, and 1 for each boiler, and another spotlight down by the seating. That's quite a lot of lights. Most of them are point lights, which are spheres. The downside of that is that where they overlap, it's quite bright, and where they don't overlap, it's very dark. Real-time lighting doesn't model the bouncing around that light does in any given room. So you get truly dark spaces, where in the real world, you only really get darkness where there is no light or in tiny cracks. So how did I go about fixing it? Well, the first thing I did was go away and do the boring learning stuff. I read through all the documentation I could find on Unity, but I didn't really understand it all and it didn't all go in. I learned much more for Sarah Applebaum's video on URP lighting. That's brilliant, check that out. And I've also binge watched Cam Ayre's videos. He's got lots on his channel, they're all good. Go and find one that you need and he'll have solved it. Once I understood what was going on, I could see that what I was doing was not quite right. Most games need a mix of real-time and baked lighting. And I wasn't using any baked lighting at all. Baked lighting comes from 2 different places: textures and probe volumes. Because I collapsed all of the UV maps for colouring vertices, means I'm not using textures inside the Clomper. So probe volumes it is. Now I'd tried all of this before and I couldn't get it to work, so I left the lighting as it was. But that's not very good for making progress. So the next thing I did was I took all the lighting out. I turned off all the lights, the post-processing and the reflection probes, which we'll come back to in a bit. And this is what I ended up with. The bright spots you can see are the lights, dials, and of course Bernie the Fire Sprite. All of those have a material which has an emission. Under normal circumstances, emission just lights up light in the camera. It doesn't actually bounce light off anything else. The delete pipe particles look particularly good with all of the lights off. Global illumination is a way of making the lighting look more realistic and nice. It uses this thing called probe volumes, which have been around for quite a long time. I've just not managed to get them to work. A probe is an imaginary ball that isn't rendered but is used to work out all the light that hits it. It then saves that information from when the game runs. Then, when Unity is showing your object in the scene, it goes to find the nearest balls and uses the light information on them. In the olden days of old-time Unity, you had to put these probes yourself. That wasn't too bad in the Clomper, although having said that, I still didn't manage to get them to work. With adaptive probe volumes, Unity does a lot of the work for you, works out where the best place to put the probes are. It also does some other things, such as streaming the probes, means it doesn't load them all in one go, and it also does things on a per pixel rather than a per object basis. Don't worry too much about that, those weren't the problems that I was having here. My problems were much simpler than that. After adding adaptive probe volumes, there was no change. And at this point, I'd like to give a big shout out to ZippyZack, who is the creator of X-Mode. You know X-Mode, online multiplayer shooter, very old school, very awesome. Go check him out, give him a sub. ZippyZack was instrumental in helping me get through the quagmire that I'm about to explain to you. Without him, I would just be a mess. So thanks, Zach, much appreciated. Why was there no change? I'd put probe volumes in. Well, the reason is that I had messed around with this scene so much in the past that all the prefabs were set up very strangely. If I may take a moment to interrupt myself, I am Edit Me and the stuff you've been watching is about a week old, and I've noticed that the next section was just so utterly full of errors that it really wasn't worth putting into the edit. So I'm going to try and do it semi-live. Semi-live meaning that I'm recording a bit like a stream and then I'm going to edit it anyway to cut out all the gaps and the erms and me trying to find windows. Let's look at getting APV working. All of these things I did do for Clomper, but it's a lot easier to see in this very simple scene. First of all, let's make sure you've got APV switched on, and you're going to do that via the quality settings. Edit, project settings, down to quality on the left hand side, and you'll see your render pipeline asset here. Double click on that, and then over in the inspector on the right hand side, you'll see all your different lighting settings. These are all the generic default ones that you get. But down here, this is not set by default. You will have light probe groups set by default. You want to change that over to adaptive probe volumes. That's the first thing. Next thing to do is you want to actually add an adaptive probe volume into the scene. If you come down to New, Light, and then Adaptive Probe Volume down the bottom there. That's quite easy. I don't think this shows up if you haven't got the quality settings set. Once you've got the adaptive probe volume in, then you can get it to fit to your scene or fit to all sizes. That's pretty easy to do. If you want to see your adaptive probe volumes, like I was showing in the video just now, then you need to use the render debug panel, and you get to that by coming up to the top where the little debugger is. On the down arrow, go to the rendering debugger, and you get this screen. And then the second one down, you've got probe volumes, and then you can switch them on by display probes. This way you can actually see what you've got going on each probe. So this probe here has got a lot of red light on this side because I've got this emitting cube here. In all honesty, setting this stuff up, this wasn't the hard bit, but it still didn't work. It's because of my objects. If you want something to add onto the global illumination, then what you need to do is have your object be static. It also needs to be set to contribute global illumination, and if you want it to receive global illumination, this needs to be set to light probes, because we're using the light probes. On the shader down here, you'll notice I've got emission set, and I've got an HDR value set quite high. 5 is quite a lot. You need to set that high because it's actually trying to emit light. Dynamic objects can't contribute to global illumination, but they can still use it. See this one here, it's not marked as static, and contribute to global illumination is off because it can't be used, but it still takes hold of the red light that you get from the main cube. And that's pretty much it, marking things as static and making sure things are set to contribute global illumination and it's set to light probes, and you're golden. Right, back to the video. So I set a load of things as static, and I made sure that global illumination was set up on everything that needed it, and it gave me this. Now, you can see some patches here which aren't great, but we'll come back to that. You'll also notice that the pipes and the tool are black. Now that's because they are metallic textures, and metallic materials take their lighting from reflection probes. Reflection probes have nothing to do with global illumination, I just switched them off. Switching them on gives this. Oh yes, that is ugly. And that's because all the lights are out of balance. I've just switched on exactly how they were before. But I still had those splotches, and I wasn't very impressed. I took a load of settings from Zach, who kindly gave me the same settings he used in X mode. But that didn't quite get rid of the patches. It smoothed them a little, but they're still there. The Clomper shell that you run around in is only 1 polygon thick, and we all thought that might be a problem, so I gave the Clomper walls some depth, but that really didn't work either. I increased the number of probes used, but that just made the splotches smaller and better defined. I turned indirect samples up. That's the quality of the bounced light inside the Clomper. And although that did reduce the patches, it didn't remove them completely. Nothing I did would remove those horrible black splotches. I raised a post over on the Unity community. I'm a poet! But at the time of recording, no one's got back to me, so I'm not entirely sure why this is doing it. To try and help explain my case, I set up a very simple project which just had this convex hull, which is a posh name for the walls of the Clomper, probe volumes, and the global illumination with 1 light. And it was still doing it! To make it go away, I had to stop the body from contributing to global illumination. That's a bit sad, because it means that if you're building pipes near the walls, they won't get a green sheen if you're up close against the wallpaper. But I can live with that. I had to move on. I couldn't mess with this any longer. This was like 2.5 weeks. Reflection probes back on. Post-processing back on. The code that makes the boilers glow bright orangey red when it's in danger on. I added 3 little distant lights to lift up the brightness a little bit, and I'm quite happy with the results. Yes, there's still a couple of problems. There's these bright spots by the boiler, but they were always there. I'll fix those at some point. I really struggled with sorting the lighting out, and I'm really thankful for the whole community for chipping in. I'm not 100% happy with it, but it's good enough, and good enough is good enough. After wrestling with that nonsense for a few weeks, I needed something that was a bit easier, a bit more fun. So I threw myself at 2 other bits of feedback. The first one was me being a bit mean originally. The Conn is this sticky thing with all the dials on it. It tells you how fast you're going, how hot the boilers are. It's quite important. The Conn steam port was up in the ceiling. I put it there initially because I thought it would give players a bit of a challenge. However, the challenge seemed to be that no one knew where it was. They could see this stick coming down from the ceiling, but they couldn't tell where the port is. And that's a bit mean. I'm still struggling with the idea that I put it up there. So many people said, why have you done this to us? It's really hard to get to. You can nerd pole, and with the recent pipe climbing, you can pipe climb up to it, but it's in the middle of nowhere. So I've moved it. It's now halfway down the Conn. It's very easy to see, and it's a lot easier to join up. It's not very easy to join up, but it's a lot easier. The second utterly missing feature was that there was no reverse gear. So you could drive up to a horrible situation like this and you'd pretty much be stuck. Now the Clomper does turn on the spot, but when you're up in the periscope, you don't really have the ability to see out and really tell where the feet are and how close you are. Now there is a reverse gear, and it's literally a gear in the floor. Power it up and you will go backwards. Simple as that. I say simple, it's actually a bit of a pain if you want to connect it up. because it doesn't easily link onto any existing. It's fine. But you'll figure it out. It'll be all right. And no, you can't have a 1x1 90-degree pipe. That would be cheating. If I'm really nice, I might give you an S piece, but only if I'm being really nice. With that done, it's time for another closed beta, but before that I need to make sure I hadn't introduced any silly bugs along the way. I'd done a bunch of my own testing, but your own testing doesn't count for very much. I gave it to my in-house alpha team run by my son, the Bean Man, and the first thing he did was break everything, and then he spawned a load of footballs. Brilliant. I should have taken those footballs out, you know. They only went in for a bit of fun on April Fool's Day, but they're still there, just haven't removed them. Thanks very much to Bean and Benjehu for doing testing for me. It's been very useful. Once I get those bugs finished, it's going to be beta time, so I'm going to be putting my feelers out to anyone who's not bored of this nonsense already and see if they would like a key for some closed betaing. After that, we're looking at open beta, at which point anyone can download and play this utter nonsense. But I think I might need a tutorial first. That's something we're going to talk about a bit on the Discord, I think. In the last devlog, I asked you all for questions to go for a Q&A that would be posed by my son. Well, we've recorded that and it will follow this video shortly once I've done the edit. So thank you very much for those questions. It's a coming, I haven't forgotten. If you think that you'd like to get involved, come on over to the Discord. We're very friendly and you get to see all of this nonsense in real time because I tend to post as I go. If you want to see more devlogs, then like and subscribe, and a cheeky wish list on Steam would be very much appreciated. So until next time, bye bye.